Bitcoin retakes the weekly 50 MA and confirms a double bottom reversal, but major hurdles remain. Will Bitcoin surge from here? Let's jump in. Hi, I'm Paul with ArcisFX with your Bitcoin update for the week. Stick around until the end for this week's summary of key levels to watch to inform your trading. But first up, what's up with altcoin season? Is it still happening? So this chart is essentially the total altcoin market cap, excluding the top 10, compared to Bitcoin. And this is the weekly chart. So as you can see, this is altcoin season in 2017, which essentially kicked off once we tapped this lower level, which is essentially around 0.074 on this chart. And then we moved all the way up to this trend line. And then that was it. That was the end of altcoin season. It's really good. 2017, it really put Bitcoin and altcoins on the map. Again, once we tapped this lower level, we had a tremendous rally, which took us all the way up to, again, the top of this trend line. Some tremendous gains from that altcoin season. But despite altcoins having a bit of love at the back end of 2023, when Bitcoin's bull run this cycle kicked off, altcoins really struggled to benefit from consistent gains as a result of macroeconomic conditions in terms of risk assets, despite all the fervor around Bitcoin ETFs, Ethereum ETFs, and all that kind of stuff. And that brings us to where we are now. And you can see here the October crypto crash allowed us to tap this level once more. And then if history repeats itself, you would presume, of course, that altcoins are going to start outpacing Bitcoin soon, break out of this pattern, and then all the way up here is potentially where the altcoin season could stop. But just to touch base with this Wall Street cheat sheet, this psychology of the market cycle, to try and figure out what is exactly going on here. Now, anyone who's been in the crypto space for more than a minute will understand the psychology of the market cycles and how this can impact us. Say you've got long-term investments. When you start to consider cutting your losses and you're getting frustrated because you feel like, well, I've been waiting ages and ages for the altcoins to take off and they just aren't doing it with any consistency. So you're starting to reconsider your positions. You're starting to consider getting out of the market, even if some of your positions are at a loss, and essentially you're feeling depressed and you're thinking of giving up. It is at these moments, these points where you're starting to think about giving up, is exactly when historically the market then turns, because the psychology of the market is dictated by the market makers ultimately, and they want us to exit. They want our liquidity. And therefore, if you're thinking now, this is it, I've had enough, there isn't going to be an altcoin season, I'm going to just cut my losses, then you need to realize this is typically and historically the point when the market then reverses. So you have to get behind how you're being impacted by the market, how it's affecting your psychology, and what that psychology is telling you as a signal. And it's very counterintuitive. It's like here, once you are feeling euphoria, right, that is when you need to sell. And it's a very difficult thing, because when you think, oh, I've made all this money, it's going to go higher, it's going to go higher, it's a very difficult thing to deal with. So down here, this depression phase, where we're just like, oh, my retirement money is lost, I don't know what to do, I made all these investments, what am I supposed to do? Well, this is the key. This is the signal. When you start feeling this way, that's when the market recovers, okay? Now, I'm obviously not promising that's going to happen, but when you look at charts like this, it highlights this psychology, because ultimately, how do you think people were feeling here? They were thinking, oh, well, this was the rally, I thought this was altcoin season, but now it's just reset all the way back down here. Oh, I'm just giving up. But then look, once those people get out of the market takes off. And it's the same here. We have an initial sort of rally in the middle of 2017. Crypto gets some love, but it just keeps resetting, and it's just very frustrating. And then all of a sudden it taps this bottom line, and boom, away we go. Altcoin season. And then here we are again. Except the interesting thing about this cycle, we've had an extended downtrend. We've had an extended period where altcoins haven't had any consistency. So what does that mean? Does this mean that it's all over and we're going to head down here? It's a possibility, but until we get that confirmation, we have to presume one thing. This is a descending wedge, and the probability suggests we're going to have a breakout. And because the trend line is up here, that is a significant move. And because this pattern essentially is multi-year now, the explosive move to the upside could be quite significant. And it's no coincidence that the crash in October stopped at this level, right? Because that's where people are looking to enter. So are you going to be one of the ones who exits just as the pattern is about to fulfill? Or are you going to be one of the breed of traders who looks at the chart without their psychology being impacted and making decisions based on TA and probabilities? And the probabilities right now are in our favor for upside. Look at all this upside for altcoins. The question is, can you continue to hang on, right? But here's the thing, right? If you are worried, right, you have a definitive line in the sand which you can use. If this chart heads below this line, then okay, you've got a potential bearish signal which you can then act off, which you can maybe start to exit your positions. But until you see that, you have to presume we're going to have a breakout with probabilities to the upside of this descending wedge, and then we're going to get some serious action for the altcoins and some serious gains like we have in the previous cycles. So when you're feeling maximum pain, don't feel the urge to sell just because of that emotion, right? Sell based on TA. And right now, considering this wedge is almost complete, has almost been fulfilled, then it's clear that this is the time right now to hold on and wait. And hopefully we'll get a breakout, and then altcoins will start to go up with some serious consistency. Understanding market psychology and how it impacts your trading is key to being successful in the crypto space. So typically, and somewhat paradoxically, you need to be doing the opposite of what you feel, because the biggest issue when trading risk assets, the biggest issue is trading volatile assets like natural gas or crypto. Your emotions are giving you false signals all of the time when you need to be just focusing on the charts, the reality of the situation. And right now, this downtrend for altcoins looks like is very soon going to be coming to an end, and it looks like a breakout is around the corner.
Hi there, I'm James. I'm the founder of ArcisFX. I'd like to personally invite you to join our 24/7 trading group. This is built for traders who want an edge. Inside, you'll get access to live calls on Forex, commodities, crypto, energies, and metals, along with exclusive daily analysis designed to unlock your trading potential. And this in both traditional and now in digital markets. I'm talking Bitcoin, crypto, altcoins, and tethered currencies. You'll gain early access to insider news, real-time updates, real-time support, and premium educational content. If you want to sharpen your skills and boost your success rate, then join me and Paul in this community. This is a fast-growing community of traders who are now writing their own success stories. So don't wait. Join up now. Your edge starts right here.
But let's just turn to Bitcoin and see what it's doing. Are we going to have a little bit more downwards movement first, or is the bottom in now? Let's have a look. So this is Bitcoin 2-hour chart, the most prevalent chart to pay attention to at the moment. It is a complicated picture, but we have had this downtrend which Bitcoin has been in. We temporarily lost the 1-week 50 EMA, but thankfully the price action was able to quickly recover on the back of this double bottom, and has now managed to confirm this double bottom pattern and finding its feet above the neckline, which is now acting as local support. So this is the first bullish signal we've had in a little bit of a while to trade off for Bitcoin. And some traders will be starting to enter their positions here. Now Bitcoin has flipped this level. And if we look at total 3, we've now moved from a downtrend to an uptrend, meaning that investors are starting to take positions in the altcoin market on the back of this first bullish signal from Bitcoin. And if we look at Bitcoin dominance, we've also now finally, this is the October crash, we've finally had a break of this support line, which means now Bitcoin dominance is moving down, which is good for altcoin trading. So this is showing us that people are now acting off Bitcoin's recent bullish moves. And here is the weekly 50 MA, which we were struggling with. We had a couple of daily candle body closes below this weekly 50 MA, a very significant line in the sand for Bitcoin, acting as support for the price action for a good couple of years now. And we definitely didn't want to have a weekly candle body close below there. Why? Because we haven't had one before. There is no weekly candle body close below the 50 this cycle. This is 13th of March 2023. But thankfully the bulls have managed to avoid that, and here we are now. But we are not out of the woods yet. As you can see, Bitcoin has a lot of work to do. We have to get back above this diagonal resistance line, which is starting to have nice confluence with the daily 200 MA. So that's strong resistance, and we have the 112 to 110k area just above, all of which could be taken out in one shot if Bitcoin is able to soon move up. Is essentially just have a move up from here. We can then retake this diagonal trend line, this moving average, and essentially 110k all in one shot. And then we're up here having a crack at the major resistance overhead, which is 116k. This is the best bullish scenario for Bitcoin right now. And if we get some news out of the United States that the government shutdown is ending, that could be the catalyst for this move. If, however, at the end of the week, we don't have any bullish news for markets, then we could see Bitcoin come back down to retest this 1 week 50 MA and struggle to act on this double bottom, because it's just one signal, of course, but it is a powerful one, because reversal patterns are essentially all we're looking for, and we've had a higher high now and a higher low. And we could see Bitcoin range in this area for now, but I think the most likely scenario is that we'll either have a move up from here off the back of some bullish news out of the United States, or the price action will start to dwindle again and start losing some of these key levels once more. So it's very important Bitcoin makes a move soon on the back of this double bottom, and then if we can get above 112 and 110k and flip the daily 200 MA and this diagonal resistance line, then we've got something to talk about. And some altcoin traders will be waiting for an additional bullish signal before entering, as some will feel that despite winning back the 1 week 50 MA and despite getting this neckline confirmation of the double bottom, with all this resistance overhead, sellers, with all this resistance overhead here, lots of sellers here, lots of sellers here, lots of sellers here. If we don't have any bullish news to move off, more likely than not, we'll lose local support and we'll come back down, maybe to retest 100k. So when we said at the start of the video that we have had this double bottom confirmed, it is important to underscore there are major hurdles ahead for Bitcoin, but these are the key levels to watch, which we'll summarize at the end of the video. Just to look at a slightly more bearish scenario, this is Bitcoin 3-day cloud predictive, and essentially this chart highlights the fact that we have lost the 200 MA, and now we are simply bearishly retesting 107k at the moment. Now the 3-day, of course, has much more significance than the 2-hour chart, so if you're thinking of entering a trade based on Bitcoin's current moves, if you're a little bit cautious, you might want to wait to see if we get a recovery here, because currently, based on this chart, Bitcoin looks like it could be heading down all the way to 89k before a reversal from there if this particular predictive plays out. And again, if you're looking at the 2-hour and you're seeing a double bottom, and then you're looking at the 3-day and you're seeing a bearish retest, the bearish retest wins. So 89k is definitely still in play, but if Bitcoin can get above this diagonal resistance line and take back the daily 200 MA and get above 110 and 112k, then what does it look like for this chart? Well, then of course the price action will be back up here and it will invalidate this bearish scenario for Bitcoin in the short term. So it's very important you're looking at multiple perspectives for your decision making process, because even though we are starting to see some reversal signs from Bitcoin, we can't ignore the fact there's still quite a few bearish scenarios still in play, especially considering previously this is how Bitcoin's price action has handled putting all-time highs. It's put them in and it's come all the way back down to the bottom of the cloud before it then moves up. So Bitcoin's got a lot of work to do in order to continue up over the next couple of weeks, but keeping an eye on these 3-day candles here to see if we can get back above the 200 MA is very important right now. But of course, confidence is growing in the market, which is reflected by Bitcoin dominance, which is a great barometer for what people are thinking. But if you are concerned, you could draw a line here with Bitcoin dominance and say, okay, so we've had this breakdown of this diagonal line, which is great for altcoins, hence why the candles are green when they're going down. You might say, I want to see something more. So you might want to see Bitcoin dominance break this level before entering, and then that is your altcoin long entrance. And if that actually happens, that will mean Bitcoin has maintained its bullish momentum and has continued up most likely, because of course, if it does not, Bitcoin dominance isn't going to come down here because people are going to be exiting their positions if they feel there's a more bearish scenario playing out for Bitcoin. So caution here. And of course, if you are entering positions, you want to be looking for using a smaller amount than usual, potentially to offset any of that risk. And again, if we just move the total 3 ES 1 out, again, we have broken it out to the upside of this triangle pattern, and we have continued to move upwards from here, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, moving from this downtrend to an uptrend, which means that people are selling their altcoin positions and now they're entering their altcoin positions. And we are currently retesting following a pullback. So right now with Bitcoin retesting its local support area following a breakout, and with total 3 doing the same, and with Bitcoin dominance having finally broken down from this diagonal trend line since it was formed in the middle of September, there is some trading opportunities here. But whether altcoin moves play out or not will be very dependent on what Bitcoin does next. And as you can see, it's got a lot of work to do, and there is still quite a lot of mixed signals across multiple timeframes with different perspectives giving us different ideas. So for this week's summary of key levels to watch, we have local support at 100k here, with the invalidation point at the moment being a close below 98k, which is currently acting as a buffer for the price action. Local resistance this week is currently being formed by the daily 200 MA, this diagonal resistance line on the 2-hour, and the 110 to 112k range here. So those are the key levels to watch this week. But that's it for now. I'm Paul with ArcisFX. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop us a comment. I'll be back tomorrow with a members only live stream with James. So if you're not a member, consider joining. It's only a couple of bucks, I think. And then I'll be here on Thursday for altcoin gems and Friday for my weekly live stream where you can ask questions, get me to check out tokens you're thinking of trading, and we can see how Bitcoin is doing at the back end of the week. And also, if you're not already in our private group, you can check out the link in the description, as we'd love to have you. Catch you in the next one.